them as they dive into the headlines with in-depth analysis and feedback from you on different stories from the national dailies. Start your day by gaining fresh perspectives, uncovering the story behind the story, and join the conversation. Because your voice matters. From the dailies, the conversation never stops.
It's another beautiful Wednesday morning, and this is the midweek edition of From the Dailies on Solutions 93.9 FM. My name is Adedamola Lafenwa, and as usual, I've got Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokwe joining me live in the studio this morning. A beautiful morning to you, Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokwe.
Yes, another cool, beautiful morning in this sprawling city of Ibadan. Good morning.
All right, it's the 28th day in the month of August 2024. Like I always say, thank God for the breath of life. Thank God for counting you and I worthy to be among the living this morning to see the very last Wednesday in the month of August. I have about four newspapers with me this morning. Okay, I have the Vanguard newspaper, I've got the Punch newspaper, I've got the Nigerian Tribune, and of course I've got the Guardian newspaper. And in case you're just joining us for the first time, there's a program where we get to take you through the major stories in some of today's national dailies. And of course you can join the program by sharing your views and your own perspective by dropping your comments on our social media handles as the Facebook or the YouTube or the X page, or you can also call in the numbers, studio lines 0909-888-9939 or 0912-222-2939. Now, going straight to the papers this morning, I have the Punch newspaper right before me, and looking at the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper. External auditors to examine NNPC 2.6 trillion naira subsidy claim. That story is found on page 20 of the Punch newspaper. Abure OT on collision costs over LP NWC tenor. The story is found on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Lagos Calabar Highway demolition. 100 landowners team up for fresh legal war. And to the biggest story on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Flights of fancy. Governor slammed for wasting 160 billion naira on unviable airports. Rider, Nasarawa, Yobe, others beg FG to take over airports shunned by airlines. Sometimes you begin to wonder what some states want to do with airports.
When we get to that bridge, we're going to cross.
Definitely, we will get to that point. Okay, away from that, Amcon set to sell Ibadan Disco. That story is found on page 20. IG vows to rescue 2,149 kidnapped victims. And the last one on the front page of the Punch newspaper says that Lagos conducts red line rail test run today. Away from the Punch newspaper, let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper. Looking at the Vanguard newspaper, I have this one saying insecurity and the bloodshed. Can Sultan urge FG? That story is found on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. And bad governance. FG gets 17-point ultimatum. Page 6. Flooding. Death toll rises to 170. Injured 2,000. Displaced 205,000. That's really, really disheartening. That story is found on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper this Wednesday morning. Agony in Southeast as kidnappers lay siege to communities. I mean, we've been having quite a number of cases of kidnapping every now and then. But we'll also look into that. I guess that was what prompted Khan and Sultan to tell the federal government to do something about this ugly menace. Army to review our agricultural policy over food security. Chief of Army Staff. LP NWC rejects Governor Oti's move to convene elective NEC. The story is found on page 8 of the newspaper. Away from that, let's go to Nigerian Tribune. End killings, banditry, Khan, Sultan urge FG. And the only write under that caption says, recent bloodshed alarming. That story is found on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Fuel crisis, lepers in Lagos resort to drinking contaminated water. Health experts warn of public health crisis. Okay, that story is found on page 27. Ogun Border Community 6 FG's intervention over violent attacks. Page 10. LP moves to sanction Governor Oti, sets up disciplinary committee. And I'm still looking at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, which is quite loaded this morning. Deepening Nigeria-BBC relations crucial, Information Minister. ICPC inaugurates anti-corruption unit in FIRS. Page 26. Tinubu, Chinese president to meet in Beijing. And away from that story, 45 years after. Okay, I think I lost the paper now. Okay, I'll try to get the paper again. Okay, moving away from that, let's look at the Guardian newspaper. Okay, this one says a $48 per barrel production cost drowns 60% of Nigeria's oil earnings. That story is found on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Another one says, arrest Nigerians. Okay, arrest Nigerian CSOs unions urged to reject authoritarianism under Tinubu. Food insecurity, FD banks on dry season farming as flood devastates northeast. Another headline is asking question: marginalization, good governance, or additional 18 states? Who needs additional 18 states? Is that what we need at the moment?
Are the ones currently operating, how many are viable?
Okay, that's a big question now. Residents of Rivers community flee over fresh oil spill. Let me take one more story on the front page of the Guardian newspaper before we go into the analysis proper. Tinubu to meet Jinping over road rail project. All right, it's about 9:40 on Solutions 93.9 FM. Let's go straight to the analysis this morning. Comrade, yesterday, before we go into these stories, we talked about a particular story concerning the age limit put on the students that will be writing WAEC examination in Nigeria. And there have been so many reactions to that particular policy being introduced by the federal government. I remember you were saying yesterday on the program that it's a good development to an extent.
I didn't. Well.
I said to an extent.
Yeah, my position is this. It is policy. It has been policy, an unwritten rule, and that obtained due to the processes. And what are the processes? The 6334 system, which started with, I think, in 1983, says 6 for primary school, 3 for junior secondary school, 3 for senior secondary school, and 4 for tertiary.
Comrade, we'll come back to you.
But I think if we go back to the old days, 18 used to be, because when we went to school, we were well above 17, going to 18. And we have that sense of maturity that we are entering to something higher. But these days we see that children under 18, like 17, 16, 15, they are already out of secondary school, planning to go. So the maturity is not there. And the challenges they are going to face in higher institution, they don't have it at home. I believe that if we can raise the stake back to 18, it will give them that privilege to get matured fully so that they know what they are about to go into.
A 17-year or 16-year, I can't remember vividly, he had obtained a PhD. So when you now say, here, you have to attain the age of 18 years before you can proceed to university. I don't get it. That shouldn't be. 18 years is, if one can If one can gain admission at 14, let him be. Let the person move on.
From the onset, when you want to start primary one, you ought to be 6 years. Not these days that you want to start primary one, you will just be like 3 years or whatever. Because if you calculate 6 years in primary, maybe 5 years or 6 years in secondary, add it up, I think that would be 18 years for you to write the exam. I think it's the right age, 18 years.
The minimum age for admission should be 16 years old. That's what I feel about it, because I'm 16 years now. So when I was like scrolling through my phone, I saw an update that government wants to make it 18 years. Then I was like wondering to myself, so I have to wait a whole 2 years before getting into university. So I was like, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make sense because a lot of people graduate early nowadays. So I feel like they should try to like make it 16 years. I think that age will be okay for everybody.
For me, I think even 16, practically, it's fine. It should not even be higher than that. Because for 18, he's already an adult. Yeah? And once you are 18, whatever happens to a 100-year-old happens to you legally. Do you understand? But we're talking about projections, how people should start getting into the life. You understand? So for me, even if it comes lower, because the child has got something extra to give, but for a policy, because it's now governing, you know, like a lot of factors. So 16 for me should not be changed. It should just remain there.
All right, the voices of some Nigerians there when we went around the street to get their opinions on that particular policy. So what's your take on that?
One of the people you signed off talked about maturity. Numbers in age has absolutely nothing to do with maturity. Maturity is a derivative of your experiences, you understand? So I have seen 15, 16-year-olds, I have seen even younger, exhibit levels of maturity that you find in adults. So that is not this standard procedure. Look, 5 years you get into primary school. I didn't attend kindergarten because my father was working in the public space, and he said, "No, I'm not going to send you to private school. I work in the public space of governance." So he refused to. And so I started school earlier. If I had gone to probably
the kindergarten
and all of that, I would have been. Those who go through those processes they are always older than others before they go through the system.
But I went through that system actually.
You went through
the kindergarten system.
Did you go around the entire gamut, or you were jumped?
I wasn't jumped.
You spent 3 years in kindergarten.
I think I did.
You think you did? Okay. Now, if you go into primary school at 5, you do 6. By 10 plus, you are in secondary school, which is not bad. Really. It's not bad. That's not too young for junior secondary school. And you do 3 years there. So at 16, you graduate from secondary school. I don't think that is bad. Look, Olusegun Obasanjo, in their days, I think it used to be class 6 or 7. I think I can't remember. Yeah, it used to be class 6. He didn't wait for class 6 in secondary school. He did his Cambridge in class 5 and he left. Olusegun Obasanjo, you can imagine their days. So you could even do your Cambridge in class 5 if you are confident enough. You will not go to class 6. Way back, for God's sake. Are we moving forward or moving backwards? So I don't think the issue of maturity dependent on number. Our children are not mature these days because the way parents are handling them. They don't even want their children to cross the road. It's ridiculous. That's been overprotective. You must expose. There are ages. So, when people don't know about parenting, there are certain things at certain ages you must expose your children to. You understand? It's a graduated thing. Some children cannot even go by public transport. You understand? You need to introduce them to the world, and it is in levels, so that by the time they are going out on their own to live, and I mean from university, they're not going to be losing control. You understand? They're not going to be losing control. Say, hey, this is freedom. I can do what I like. No, you can't do what you like.
So parents shouldn't be too overprotective.
No, look, it's not even about protect. Look, giving them
No,
what
they see it as being protective, as
giving it is ignorance. Giving them what they know is like kitting them with the necessary life tools and skills. And there are certain ages at the primary school, at junior secondary school, there are certain skills you have to, let your children imbibe, and they have to go out there and test them. They have to test it. They're going to be facing the world. It's a competitive world. It's a world in a dog-eat-dog world. That's the reality of the world. So for how long are you going to protect your children? For how long? You get them a job. Are you going to be with them, protecting them from the interactions in the offices, the power games, the politics that goes on in the office? You understand? So you have to. People don't understand parenting. I think that's the problem.
But another thing is, looking at the age 18 limit now, some Nigerians are of the opinion that why not look back at the primary school to at least to enforce it at the primary school, because you see some schools now conducting common entrance examination into secondary school for primary 3 pupils. Once you're primary 3, primary 4.
Look, that's
pupils.
not nice because that's curriculum.
But it's trending now. It's trending now. You see the maximum. Some of these nursery and primary schools now. Once a child is at primary 4, at most, is already attempting.
What they don't understand.
So probably there should be, the federal government should have put a particular age limit to the writing of common entrance examination into the secondary school. At least that will checkmate.
I don't. Well, it's still the same thing.
But one thing I know for sure is that I know some pupils are already attempting common entrance examination into junior secondary school as at primary 4.
I think it is ignorance too.
On the part of who? The parents or the teachers?
And then schools should put their feet down. I'm not going to be a school proprietor and you're going to be doing that in my school. I'm not going to take it.
Definitely.
You take your children
I know
somewhere.
some school proprietors will put their foot on ground.
I'm not going to allow that.
This is not going to be allowed. But that you see the parents withdrawing such child
Let them
from
take their children, take their children away from my school. I'm not going to take that. There is a curriculum, and the curriculum is it is ignorance. You see, what you call an advantage today, what are the life skills that a 7-year-old, they have their eyes on getting them out of school and getting them early into life. But do they have the necessary life skills? That is more important than graduating. You require, and you know what it takes now to survive. That is what, you know how many 30-year-olds are at home now, being fed by their parents. You know how many 35 and 40, even 40-year-olds at home now being fed by the children. Because we didn't get the proper education. Education has been reduced to book in Nigeria. Just like corruption has been reduced to stealing money. It is all more than that. You need different skills. Even critical thinking. You would teach the critical thinking in schools.
But before we move out of this topic, don't you feel that this policy being enforced by the federal government will bring up some other negative effects, like you see people trying to falsify the ages of their children when they start to alter the birth certificate?
I want to put all of
and
that.
We've been talking about Jackpot syndrome now. Is this not a kind of a discouragement for the few people that are still remaining in Nigeria? Okay, let us just keep on enduring. But since my child will not be allowed to write this at this age, I'll probably send him abroad.
Well, I call it.
Are those not negative?
You call it falsification and all of that. I call it creativity. But you see, the issue of falsification of age is a very simple matter. I work in administration. It's so simple. We just look at your primary school leaving certificate. We just do some additions and deductions and
do these institutions still run that kind of check? Like you were running them?
At a certain level, the checks will be done. We just do addition and so. A customer of mine wanted employment. He did some deductions in his age. I didn't call him to ask. I just did some wasn't sure of his age. I just did some additions and deductions. And I called. I said, "Come and take your papers. So I'm not going to get you a job because it is summary dismissal." You understand? So Nigerians are going to be creative. Nigerians send their children to Benin Republic, one building like this, or max a building or two like the one we have behind. Those are universities. You have universities like that in England too. It's not Nigeria alone. So, and are they accredited? Ignorant parents. Highly ignorant parents. Those universities, quite a number of them are not accredited, and you have to be accredited. And that is not Benin Republic. See what happened. I think it was Sudan. How many Nigerians were brought from Sudan and all of that. So let's take a look at our curriculum. You understand? It's a curriculum. And the curriculum we have, what we have on paper, is it being applied? You understand? What does the education we do is the cognitive. Are the teachers also equipped? And are they motivated? Teaching equips. I'm a son of educators. Teaching is not a job, it is a calling. When you are imparting knowledge, they say imparting knowledge, you are teaching. It is not just book you are teaching them. It is not, you are imparting knowledge. And knowledge is a body of so many components, not just book alone. You understand? Life skills are very critical in education. We think education is book, education is more than that. Let's take a look at our curriculum. And let's take a look at the 2009 agreement. 2009 agreement with tertiary institutions or with university. ASU. Even one government say, no, we cannot pay it. Government is a continuum. You acquire asset and liability. And one government say they could not do it. It was Yaradua that started it. Yaradua is an academic. Jonathan is an academic. From their background, they know what. Look, education. We are jokers, man. Look at India today. Look at the entire globe, the entire tech globe. You cannot count any company that is tech, that is what being called tech. You cannot count 1, 2, 3. There will be an India. You cannot even count 3 before you see an India. It was a policy. Look at China today. The tech. China was a backward country. And they did a policy. It will take time before you see the results.
You know, interestingly, Nigerians are beginning to send their kids to even India to study.
Why not?
Because India seems to have one of the best form of education as we speak now.
Education is the bedrock of development. What you don't have, what are you going to give if you don't have it? You just look blank. Education has to be deliberate. Look, do you think it unlocks? And when we say education, this education thing, it's not about book alone. No. Education today, if you want, we have potentials in the population of our youth. How do you unlock that potential? It is not book education alone. There is sports. There is technology. You know, you unleash the potential. We're not doing that. Our leaders, I don't know what they're thinking. But you see, I think they're politicians anyway. We call them leaders. They are more political. They are politicians. They say politicians think of the next election. A leader thinks of the future. You see, when you want to do a thing that you want to see the result, or you want people to see the result so that they will say, hey, he has done well. That's not a leader. It is not in the political arena alone. No. I worked in the university. When I got to the university, I said, well, I built this cluster towards the gate like this. And the master plan indicated that they should build away from the gate. Yet, a vice chancellor, an academic, was building around the gate. So that the moment people came in, they say, they are working here. You understand? So, it's a mental... People want to be hailed. Now. Awolowo, when was he Premier of Western Region? 50-something. We're still talking about him. No, but another person has been governor of Abi. The benchmark Awolowo said, nobody has met it, not to even talk about surpassing it. So that's what we should be thinking.
Okay, it's 4 minutes to 10, still on From the Dailies on Solutions 93.9 FM. Let's move away to another topic now. And the screaming headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper talks about this issue, flights of fancy. Governor slammed for wasting 160 billion naira on unviable airports. And you begin to wonder, like I asked you earlier on, I said there are some states that you see them constructing airports in such states, which is gulping large amount of money. Then you begin to wonder, what is the viability of that airport? What do I call it? What prospect is that airport going to bring into that state? Is that the next thing to venture into?
First of all, let me just say I like the kicker. Flights of fancy.
Flights of fancy.
I could change the fancy to another word, but I dare not say that on air.
On air. I know.
You see, those who purport to lead us, you know there's always the question of motive. Some of them, good intentions, you understand? Good intentions, but good intentions are not enough. You want to build an airport? What is the purpose of an airport? Air traffic. Not just human beings, not just passengers, but cargo also. What is my location? What is the possible traffic, you understand? Either of cargo and of human traffic. You have to, you do a feasibility. You just don't wake up and, you want to build an airport. You do a feasibility study. You call in experts. Even calling the experts to give you a feasibility study is costly. It's not cheap. They have to put all things together. Now, but you see, what I know, and we all know, is that projects like that, you know what she wanted to build one? Eddie had always, as a child, I grew up around that area. Eddie had always had an aerodrome in Eddie because of the presence of the Baptists on that axis, light aircraft and all of that. But the airport, the one that has been turned into an estate now, even in the days of Nigeria Airways, was it viable? What makes an airport viable in Ibadan now? Look, instead of doing an airport, and I make bold to say, even in Ibadan, good intentions, the governor enumerated. I mean, the airport is one of the key things that he enumerated. You have to, you do a cost-benefit analysis, you understand? It's a cost-benefit analysis. So, how much has Oyo State invested in the airport?
It's about to be upgraded into international airport.
Billions have already been spent. So, they are doing the wrong way. Number one, it used to be twin otters, the one that have propeller blades, because the runway determines the size of the aircraft. The aircraft never slept over in Ibadan because there was no fuel dump for them to refuel from. The state government has done that. We don't have a terminal that will accommodate airport standards that we're talking about. And then what will be the benefit? Look, Lagos-Ibadan Highway is great now. There is also what you call it, the train services that run. I'm not going to get on that train unless I'm going for leisure. You understand? Because I'm not going to spend 3 hours running between Ibadan and Lagos when I can do 1 hour
on the road.
By road. Except the redeem end is chaotic. So why should I do that? And then how many flights? I checked. Only 5 flights per day.
In Ibadan?
Yes. As we speak, only 5 flights per day. In the morning, go catch a flight to Abuja. By 6:45, you will see flights back to back for the next 30 minutes, taking off, back to back. Everybody rushing to Abuja. Okay, so what revenue? What revenue is coming in? You're expending money. Look, it is when you are investing in business, the only essence of investing in business is to make profit. This is public. That's what I call. I don't want good governance. What I want is transparency. And then, bottom line, the parliament, our state assemblies that are supposed to do oversight. Did they get approval? Did they bring a blueprint? And money spent, revenue. It's not social service. It is not social service. All our government agencies that were run as social services went bankrupt and put Nigeria in debt. It's not. Why will you? It's a federal structure. Why do you want to put all your state money there? Why do you want to put any state's money there? Some are building fresh. That one was there, okay? And it is there because the Air Force is here. That was the only reason why they built that new one. Now, did the state assembly, did they do the oversight? Did they ask questions? And what questions were they asked? And what responses did they get? Those lame, impotent parliaments that we have, state parliaments, and they're just frittering away public funds. Did they do a table of what we're going to be spending in so months, which we're going to be getting back in so years? And these are the benefits beyond revenue that Oyo will be getting. You understand? You want to fly to Abuja. People want to come and do business in Ibadan. You understand? Would they fly? Would they fly from Lagos to Ibadan? Okay, they fly direct from Abuja. They fly direct from Kano. Would they fly direct from New York? Would they fly direct from London? Will Emirates, will Air Peace, you will fly from London to Ibadan? You understand? So all you project. Look, I don't even blame the executive. I blame the parliament. What are they doing there? What kind of people are in those committees? You understand? Of works, the relevant committees. What kind of people? I told you here, one man, an illiterate, was put as chairman of House Committee on Education, and he wrote to us on his own personal letterhead that he was coming to visit us. Of course, I told my boss to ignore him. You understand? So what are we doing? And then you cannot blame the parliament to a large extent. One state constituency, there are two local governments. One local government will say it is our turn. And then the next one, the next local government will say it is our turn. This is not turn by turn. The work of parliament is a painstaking. If you get to the parliament, I worked in the National Assembly. If you get to the parliament today, it will take you 1 year. You understand? To ignore the nitty-gritty operations of a parliament and to fit in, and that is for those who have interest. So, this is the parliament. Flights of fancy. Too bad.
But let's even leave the one in Oyo State, the Ibadan, because there has been an existing airport. What of states that never had airport and they are now putting so much money to be? I mean, look at the
Cargo in Ogun.
Say 6 states. I want to read the story now. 6 state governments, including Ekiti, Ebonyi, Jigawa, Yobe, Nasarawa, and Bayelsa, have spent about 160 billion naira on airport projects that opposition politicians and aviation professionals classified as unviable. Now, you begin to wonder what will be the viability of establishing or constructing airports in this state.
Well, it comes down. You cannot just spend money. The money must be appropriated. And let me tell you the bottom line. The bottom line is that when you build an airport, if you say I have spent 5 billion, believe you me, you cannot. Even if you bring an auditor there, you cannot quantify it. So it is one good way
I understand.
If you spend 5 billion, I tell you, on virgin land to build an airport, you will still be asking, what are they doing here? You understand? I tell you, in reality, you will still be asking, what do they want to do?
And interestingly, some of the states mentioned here have dilapidated schools. You have some school children even receiving lectures in open air because their rooftops of their classrooms have been blown up. So you begin to wonder, is that the priority of the government to establish an airport?
It is not the priority of government. It is the priority of the governors. They are being driven by, look, it's whimsical for Bayelsa, for instance. It's whimsical. Yobe, what are you doing in Yobe? What are you doing in Yobe? You understand? Rather than, okay, like the Southwest now. John has a master plan, rail. They wanted to construct rail earlier on. It was but that one has been liberalized now. And if you want to construct airport, if you think it is viable, if you believe it is viable, you don't need to put state money there. Why don't you invite investors? Like all others will say, they say they are doing PPP, Abi. So why don't you do PPP with the airport? And invite investors. If it is viable, that is enough to determine the viability of a project. If you are confident, put your paper together, invite an investor. This is the paper we have put together. Go and study it. They will come if it is viable. Abi, an investor, any serious investor that sees money, now, they will come. So they are not going to. That is why it is state money. Only God knows how much Adegbeshola put in the fictitious or the elusive airport.
I'm getting some comments. Francis Okoronko said some governors are still struggling to build more in a country where only a marginal 5% can afford to fly. Another one came in from Emma. He said it was like a competition. The moment a state embarks on an international airport project, some other state, without considering the viability of such a project in their own locality, rushed into it. The result is the situation on ground where money, I'm trying to look at the remaining part of where money that should have been spent on viable localized projects are wasted priority should be given to projects taking into consideration the need of the majority of the people in the area. Just to read two of the comments.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is, you see, if you put several, one state built, I think it's Moabi, is it one state built something, and there is no evidence of any airport being put anywhere. That's why I say if you put 5 billion, you will be asking when you get to the
5
site.
billion is too small. Even if you put like 20 billion, you
And 5 billion, you start. What are they planning? You will still be asking, what are they planning to do here? You want to put a Boeing 310. You want to land a Boeing 310. How many kilometers of runway do you need? And what kind of runway do you need? Are the aircraft not going to land on the Lagos Ibadan? I mean, the kind of depth of concrete and all of that repeatedly. Of course, I mean, so.
The runway must be very solid.
Absolutely, and you are talking about minimum of
1,000,
1,200 sometimes. You know, of course, and you need a network of runways, not just one runway. A network. If you see how planes take off, you see they come from one angle, you know, and all of that, they land and that. So, and then the facilities. You know, the facilities in airports now, it has to be spick and span, and it has to be maintained 24/7. 24/7. Not airports, the old Lagos airport where you get there, everything will be hot and nothing is working. You get to the toilet, water is flooding everywhere. So, but you see, those who are saddled, for me, it is those who are saddled with the oversight functions that are not doing their job. Why are they not doing their job? Because they don't either know their jobs or they are just incapable. I mean, you hear governors say, I want to form for one. The governor says he will procure forms for them. How can you procure forms for people who want to oversight me? You understand? Somebody who used to checkmate me. Somebody who used to scrutinize my job. I'm the one. That means you are the one employing him. Eh?
No, that's it.
A joke. We don't understand democracy, and especially we think government is the executive branch. Look, the quality of men and women that occupy our parliament is more important than the executive. We should get that right. Our military hangover, in which we never had the parliament in place, we still had the judiciary, we still had the executive, and the executive was even making laws, and they were doing it with immediate effect. I order. Even now, you hear a governor say, the governor has ordered. Order where? What are you ordering? Do you understand? And they make policy, even the president, they will make policy statement. We said it here on Monday, and they are still looking, what did the president say? How are we going to fix it? For God's sake.
Months after.
You just don't, you give policy direction. When you're giving policy, if it is well thought out, you'll have been informed, and they will already be preparing. It will be at a certain stage. You understand? So when you make that policy, give that notice of policy direction, it will be rolled out shortly. Not at planning and execution. We do pay as you go now. Should be service providers. You have
pay as you go.
We do pay as you go now.
All right. Away from that story, NNPC is in the news this morning. External auditors to examine NNPC 2.6 trillion naira subsidy claim.
Yeah. Well, you see this word subsidy now.
Let's say finally, do we now say finally, questions are being asked now?
You see, what are they going to examine? Is it the is it the figure? Or are they arrived at it? What is how is an NPC getting the product? They swap our crude. That's what they've been doing. They said they stopped it, then you hear the next thing that they're doing it again. And what is the parameters? They will just call somebody, come and take.
I didn't get that part when you said they swapped our crude.
They swap our crude for products. It's not as if we sell our crude. We now take money to go and buy products. You don't get it?
I didn't get that.
Okay, we have crude.
Okay,
this is it. We have crude. There is some crude. We have joint ventures, JV, about 4 of them, I was told. Then you have guys that have their oil mining license and OPL. You can't ask them to bring their own crude. You understand? They are doing business. They are paid. They pay tax. So the joint ventures you have. I told you that you don't buy crude like you are going to Okado market, give me vegetable, give me banana. They have signed contracts months ahead. You have made commitment months ahead. So what you are just producing is going to them. But we have what they call domestic crude allocation. That Nigeria was refining at Port Harcourt, Warri, and two at Port Harcourt, one at Warri, and one in Kaduna. That they were, in fact, Kaduna was refining Venezuelan crude. Kaduna was not refining Nigerian crude.
The Kaduna refinery.
Yes, they were importing crude to refine in Kaduna. So it was deliberate. It was policy that they built that. So they will refine, but they stopped refining. I was told that when Rakot 1 was stopped from refining, it was not actually so bad in 2015. It was not as if the situation was bad. Now, what was supposed to be refined domestically now, rather than sell that one too and get money and go and buy what, because if you sell crude, you get dollars. Rather than sell those ones too and we get dollars to buy products. You know what we do?
What?
We say come and take 150,000. You take it to the refineries, wherever you want to refine them. So what are the parameters? If you give you 1 barrel, how many products come from crude oil? We only get PMS and AGO. You know, PMS is the most prominent one. No, we don't get AGO. AGO has been liberalized, deregulated a long time ago. So what products do we get? When you take crude into a refinery, depending on the capacity of that refinery to break it down, there are some refineries that cannot break it down to the barest. Those modular refineries cannot break crude down to the barest. They cannot. So when you take crude wholesale to a refinery, you give a Nigerian, say they take it to. So what do we get in return? How do you value? How do you interface the value? You understand? How do you interface the value? Because if you say crude is $90 per barrel, and you now tell me that the value of products I'm going to get is $90, what about when I'm done refining? I will get thousands of dollars. You understand? From refining 1 barrel, but I will give it to you as $90 per barrel. Do I get products, you understand, PMS in the value of $90, or if I refine, I will get $5,000, after refinery. And then do you deduct the cost of refinery, fining? Okay, airport sells other products. You understand? Nobody knows that. Nobody knows. They call it swap. What are you swapping? What are the parameters for swapping? Nobody knows. So but that is not what this probe or whatever.
Probably this is one of the things that the external auditors are coming to look into.
I hope
why
so.
they came about the money.
What is the
4.6 trillion naira?
Oh, they will just be saying, we brought in 5,000 metric tons of PMS. They will not be talking about the parameters for the swap. Nobody's going to be talking about that anymore. It is just what they claim to have brought in that they will scrutinize. You understand? We brought in 5,000, we brought in 150 million liters. Okay, where did you discharge? Records and all of that. Not the parameters for the swap. And that is what we should query. What is the parameters for the swap? $1, 1 barrel of crude oil. Okay, let's say $90.
No, I think it's about.
Just using.
It's way less than that.
Look, 48.
It's $48 per barrel.
That's the cost of production. Look, that is exorbitant. It is exorbitant. It shouldn't be anything more than 20, depending on where you are exploring. It shouldn't be more than 20, 26.7. I was still talking to the general manager of NMP NMP's Port Harcourt refinery just about 24 hours ago, and we're talking about cost of production. How can they claim $48 cost of production? How can they make such claims? Who does that? You just ask Google the average cost of production, depending on where you're exploring. How can they claim $48? That's ridiculous.
But that $48 per barrel, now according to Guardian newspaper, is saying that $48 per barrel production cost drowns 60% of Nigeria's oil earnings.
Of course, now it's drowning. If you're supposed to be producing between 20 and 26, and then some people claim 40. I mean, they're taking, now that's double the cost of production. That claim is double the cost of production. That will eat into profit.
So are you saying that figure is not true?
Is
that what you're insinuating?
It is a claim that is in the space for us to consume. But those who are in the industry know these things are not far-fetched. What is the average cost of production of crude in Nigeria? Depending on where you are exploring, whether onshore, whether deep sea, you understand? Because you still factor other things in. But at the end of the day, what is the cost of production? You know what it takes to produce now. You know what it takes to produce. It's like you want to do a jingle. You know what it goes into a jingle. You can cost it. And then that determines, what you put out there. $40 for a cost of production. Why are they doing it? No. That's not straightforward.
Okay, as we wrap up, there's a particular story I would like us to look into now. This has to do with insecurity, and it's about this urgent coming from the Khan and the Sultan. End killings, banditry. Khan, Sultan urge federal government. Say recent bloodshed alarming. Now, looking at the spate of insecurity in recent times, there's virtually no day you won't hear a story of someone being kidnapped. Looking at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning now, about 3 or 4 kidnap stories here. There's this one saying Rivers police launch manhunt for the kidnappers of director. Another one says 13 arrested over attack on Oyo Commissioner's convoy. And it's on that same paper is where we are saying we are having end killings, banditry, can urge Fed FG, saying that the recent bloodshed is alarming.
Yeah, it is alarming.
Do we say that has this government been doing enough to tighten the security? Because we both know that almost every day we hear the cases of kidnapping, and it is becoming too alarming in recent times. Gone are the days where they will lay you on the road. Now they come into people's houses and take them away from their houses. They even have the audacity to even pick which of the family members they want to take along with them. See the confidence.
Yeah, you know that we have transited. It used to be kidnapping for other purposes. When kidnapping started in Nigeria, it started in the South, and of course it was a part of the resource control agitation. And they targeted those who, were symbolic of what the agitation represented. But of course, people learned some lessons from that, and it became an industry. And it has assumed a life of its own now. And that is where we are. And you see, security. The bottom line of security is intelligence. Are we getting intelligence? Is it actionable intelligence? And you will recall that when Kuje was broken into, do you remember that there was information that there were over 100 times that actionable intelligence got to the security agencies about the impending invasion? So even if we get intelligence, what do we do with it? And you see, security, the one that was invaded, no shot sight, no CCTV. So what do we think security is all about? We do physical security. You see one big man going around, 10 soldiers up, pushing people. That's not security. Security is actually subtle. You can't do nothing on the streets of London. You will be captured. Captured by cameras. Apartment buildings. Go to apartment buildings, even in Lagos. How many of them, have active, cameras? And the streets, the neighborhoods, the rich, very rich neighborhoods in Lagos, do they have cameras? Do they have, subtle security? Not just depending on the security of my own abode. You understand? I put electric wires, I put cameras. But what about the neighborhood? You can't be secure alone by yourself. It has to be a network so that the environment cannot be breached. I think we have to take a critical look at, and when the president came in, he said something at his inauguration. He talked about the doctrine, rather that he was going to take a look. They were going to review the doctrine, the Nigeria's military doctrine, Nigeria's security doctrine, what underpins it. Where we're coming from, the military evolved, especially the police, the police is the primary agency that is responsible for internal security. Where is the Nigeria police today? How many men? How many numbers? And those numbers, what is the proportion of those who are actually involved in policing rather than securing the lives and properties of the elite? And I don't mean the political elite alone. I mean the elite at all sectors of Nigeria. So we need, and how did the police evolve? Nigeria police is the only one that I'm aware of that has a force behind its name. You don't police forcefully, you police persuasive. Do you police by force? You see policemen, metropolitan policemen carrying guns? Our policing philosophy has to be reviewed, has to be overhauled, has to meet the current, best global practices and our needs too. Policing is not by force. You say Nigeria police force, you are going to forcefully police us. I mean, where do you get that from? There is we have to address the fundamentals of the things we do. When you do the same thing over and over again, do you expect different results? You don't get any result that is different from what you get. We have to look, and there is no quick fix. We must get one thing about Nigeria. There is no quick fix to any of the challenges.
But really, are we not addressing this kidnapping issue with kids' gloves? With the way it keeps getting out of hand? Because now I just saw a particular story on the front page of Vanguard. Now look at if it's the biggest story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Agony in Southeast as kidnappers lay siege to communities. There's a particular writer that said Lilu Osumagu axis in Iyala, now called Sambisa of the Southeast. That means that business, in quote, kidnapping business has become a big thing in the Southeast now.
Let me tell you one thing, one big advantage that we have as a people. We evolved as communities. Growing up, that you lived, and that's a French word, commune, where everybody knows everybody. You can identify communities. That is the safest way to secure ourselves. Just one security expert was telling me that, look, we have the structures in place. We should just formalize them. Neighborhood security people, we have them. And all sorts of neighborhood associations. Yes, neighborhood association, neighborhood security system. Formalize these things. We have to move away. Communities, no outsider can come and attack a community, except, of course, there is compromise from within. There must be some form of compromise. In those northern parts now, where you call the banditry and all of that, why are people paying tax to bandits? Why are they paying tax to Boko Haram? The lack of presence of government. Government, everything national police, national army. These things are not working. We must address our challenges if we want to move forward. And you see how it has affected food production. And food is a fundamental. And a hungry man is not just going to be an angry man. It's going to be an irrational.
A wild man. I want to use the word wild.
That's dangerous. You understand? When you have a man that is not thinking.
There's a limit to which you can endure hunger.
I tell people that
there is a limit,
hunger, for me, hunger exists at two levels. Hunger in my belly, I can manage. When hunger moves to the head, you are not going to be able to coordinate much when hunger moves to the head. We have to confront our challenges. Our leaders are deceiving themselves. And so also are we, the followers. Or is it that we don't know the challenges? But elder statesman Dr. Imfarumbi will tell me that they say there's a challenge with a structure, a 25-story building, and then you call in people to patch it. They say there's a structural defect. You understand? Structural defect to a building. How do you deal with that? You deal with it from the bottom, which is the foundation. I think it is time that we address our challenges in a fundamental way, honestly, brutally. That's the only way forward for us as a people.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Ayodele Ajope, for your perspective on the program this morning. It's been a very wonderful session with you this morning, as usual.
Always an interesting one with you, and of course, on this platform in particular.
All right, that's the wrap for today. We're back again tomorrow morning for a fresh edition from the Dailies on Solutions 93.9 FM. My name is Adedokun Lafenwa. Stay tuned to your number one radio dial, Solutions 93.9 FM. Good morning.
Yeah,